Greetings, YouTube. The doctor is in. Dr. Urios Papers here, coming at you with another commentary on Dungeons and Dragons. And welcome to the channel that takes power gaming to the next level. Today on the Doctor Spell Prognosis, we're going to talk about the spell Sunbeam. We're giving this one a B. But first, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. If you like this video, hit the like button. If you have any questions or comments, please leave a question or comment. And don't forget to hit that notification bell so you know when I got another video coming out. All right, this is another one of our 6th-level spells in our series of 6th-level spells. We're on the S's, which we won't be on for very long. And we got a Sunbeam. It's one action. Has a range of self, which means it originates from you. 60 feet after that, verbal, somatic, and material component, which is just a magnifying glass. So we don't have to worry about that. Duration of 1 minute, requires concentration. If you got the spell up, you do want to concentrate on it. It does require a con save, which I don't personally like. A lot of creatures can make that saving throw pretty easily. So a beam of brilliant light flashes out from your hand in a 5-foot wide, 60-foot long line. Each creature in the line must make a Constitution saving throw. On a failed save, a creature takes 68 radiant damage, which, if for those of you that are calculating, 68 is average of 27 points of damage, whereas 8d6 is an average of 28 points of damage, roughly the same. The reason I bring up 8d6 is because that is the fireball and lightning bolt. So this does an equivalent of that, but it does it every single round. So in addition, if they fail, they take 68 radiant damage. Very few things are resistant to radiant damage. And they're blinded until your next turn. It doesn't now. This is something that is technically not very well written. It says until your next turn. It doesn't say until the beginning of your next turn. And it doesn't say until the end of your next turn. It says until your next turn. That really needs to be defined. They left that out. That is not good writing. Until your next turn means nothing. Until the beginning of your next turn means something. Or until the end of your next turn means something. And some DMs could interpret that one way or the other, so that leaves it open. They should have defined that better. It is from the basic rules, but there are things in the basic rules that do say until the end of your next turn or until the beginning of your next turn. So that is, again, there's a lot of variation in these spells depending on the writers, and a lot of different writers wrote these spells. So on a successful save, it's half damage, and they're not blinded. Undead and oozes have disadvantage on this saving throw. Now, the blinded condition, a blinded creature can't see and automatically fails any ability check that requires sight. Attack rolls against the creature have advantage, and the creature's attack rolls have disadvantage. Unfortunately, oozes, I think to the ooze, actually have blind sight. So it's not really going to do anything to blind them, but you are going to make them fail their save or increase the chances that they're going to fail their save, and they will take quite a bit of damage. Undead, on the other hand, a lot of undead use sight to see, actual sight. So they're going to take the damage, and they're going to be blinded, and if they're vulnerable to radiant damage, then they're going to take twice as much. And there are some undead that are vulnerable to radiant damage. Okay, so you can create a new line of radiance as your action on any turn until the spell ends. So this is, again, is another kind of misnomer or poor writing. So it should say on your turn, but it says you can create a line of radiance as an action on any turn. So if somebody can give you an action, then you could use this spell. Now, I'm going to look something up here very quickly, because there is a fighter that can do something possible. Commander Strike. When you take the attack action on your turn, you forego one of your attacks and use a bonus action to direct one of your commanding strike. When you do so, choose a friendly creature who you can see or hear and expend one spirit dart. That creature can use its reaction to make one weapon attack. So, nope. So I don't really know anything that gives people actions. It has to be able to give you an action off turn. So this is poorly written again. It should say you can create a new line of radiance as your action on your turn until the spell ends. But if anybody knows of a way to cheese around this, put it in the comments below. But I just think that this spell is generally not written in the best writing style. So for the duration, a mote of brilliant radiance shines in your hand. It sheds bright light in 30-foot radius and dim light for an additional 30 feet. The light is sunlight. So that's important too, because there are creatures like vampires that are susceptible to sunlight. And I think shadows and a few other things. Okay. So this spell is usable by druids, sorcerers, and wizards. So what do I think about wizards? Well, it's an evocation spell. So you could sculpt it because it is an evocation spell, meaning that when you cast an evocation spell, the spell affects creatures. As you can see, you can choose a number of them, 1 plus your spell's level, which would be 7. Those chosen creatures automatically succeed on their saving throw and take no damage that they would normally get. So you don't have to worry about allies with this if you're an evocation wizard. You just blast it out, and you can catch, as many undead in a line as you can. And that, again, this is a great spell for undead, and it's pretty good for a lot of other things. But there are other spells that are better than this at a 6th level. But if I were a wizard and had this spell and there were undead there, especially undead that are either vulnerable to radiant damage or susceptible to sunlight, I would be blasting this spell out every round. So it is a good one to have. It is a bit situational. That is part of the reason why we're giving it a B. Another one is a portent ability, of course, with School of Divination, where you can make a creature fail a saving throw if you have a low roll on that portent die. So there is that. For druids, I actually like the Circle of Stars druid for this. It doesn't really do anything to that spell itself, but a archer druid, you can blast with the sunbeam, and then you can use the archer as on your bonus action, because the beam itself is an action. So you create a new line of radiance as your action. So you can do a little bit of extra damage, and this one also does radiant damage. And then we're not talking about the fighter, but we're talking about the sorcerer. So for sorcerers, I like Divine Soul or Wild Magic. Wild Magic because you can use sorcery points to make things take a penalty on their saving throw from Bend Luck. Divine Soul or Clockwork Soul, it doesn't really do anything with the ability itself, but they get a couple extra abilities with Bastion of Law or with Restore Law, and Divine Soul gets favored by the gods. It's nothing that really empowers the spell itself, but it just kind of goes along with the flavor. Now, for sorcerers themselves, they get the Meta Magics. Really a good one. You can double the range of the spell. When you cast it as a range of touch, this doesn't. So this would be instead of a 60-foot line, it would be a 120-foot line. You can empower it where you can re-roll a number of dice up to your charisma modifier, which at this level should be 4 or 5. So that means you're re-rolling almost all the dice if you want. And you can heighten it, which means one thing is going to get disadvantage on their save. You can quicken it once, so it'll go off as a bonus action when you cast it. You cannot twin it because it's an area of effect. So it is what it is. It's an okay spell. It's not fantastic. It is very situational, but when you need it, and that's why it's here. And that is what I got for everybody today, and I appreciate everybody tuning in, and I will catch everybody later.